Can I take a few extra minutes, Norm? Don't tell Janet. I'm just going to go for it. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody got to pee? We okay? All right. All right. 10 minutes max. 10 minutes. I got to talk about this. Great people train their minds. They train their minds to function beyond feelings and emotions. I'm going to tell you something and you're not going to believe it. I am a minister. It's the highest calling, I think, in the world. I love what Charles Spurgeon said. If God's called you to be a preacher, don't stoop to be a king. How many of you can imagine this? There are Sundays I don't feel like preaching. Don't feel like going to church. Talking to you crazy people. Doing all the stuff that you do during the week. Looking at my own crazy life. Thinking about all the stuff I did during the week. And I don't want to go. I bet, as great as you are, there are some of you that don't like going to work every once in a while. Do I have a witness anywhere in this room? Talking to all them crazy people, trying to resolve this and trying to resolve that. Do I have a witness? You ain't gonna get in trouble. Do I have a witness in this room somewhere? Great people train their minds to go beyond feeling and emotion. Did I say that means you're emotionless? No. Void of feelings? Of course not. But great people say, regardless of how I feel, I've got a job to do. And sir, looking at you in uniform, the greatest example of that is Chuck Yeager, in my opinion. How many of you have read the book Yeager? Are we not on an Air Force Reserve Base? How many of you have read, how many of you will be reading the book Yeager? How many of you have read it? Really? Seriously? You will remember this story. Look at me. What's the point? We're still under number 2, sub-point under number 2. Here's the deal. Here's the overriding point. Great people train their mind and their emotions to get the job done. Watch this. Yeager's, this is when he's a test pilot. Y'all will remember this story. He's flying 1,620 miles per hour. That's 90 miles every 3 seconds. He's flying at 80,000 feet. At that high, at that fast, his plane starts to come apart. He goes into a free fall. It's over. Somehow, he pulls that plane out of the free fall at 25,000 feet and lands on the flat bed of the Mojave Desert. Looks at his instruments, is visibly shaken, talks to who he needs to talk to, and they say, "How in the world did you pull this off?" He said, "Luck and instinct." Forget about the luck part. I want you to focus on the instinct part. This is what Yeager said. Day after day, month after month, year after year, I've just trained myself every single day in the fundamentals so much that I knew what to do even when I didn't know what to do. Oh, man, my goodness. If you don't get anything else from my speech, if you don't get anything else from my speech, get this. Even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't want to, even when they're not paying you what you deserve, even when the exigence of the hour is greater than your personal comfort level, you've been training yourself month after month, day after day to stay the course. And now it's your great privilege to stay the course. Stay the course. Stay the course. I learned that from a daddy who at my wife's casket told me to keep standing. Y'all remember that story? At my wife's casket, said, "Boy, keep standing. Stay the course." There's something about not quitting. I like to look into the eye of a person because I can tell a whole lot about them. Do you know that when you look into the eye of a person, you can tell a quitter? Anybody in here ever been in a fight? Go back to high school. You ever get close to somebody and you realize, excuse my language, but oh shit. Don't leave me hanging here. Do y'all understand what I'm talking about? You ever look at somebody in the eye and you realize they're not playing? You can look at a person in the eye and you can tell a whole lot about that person. Don't quit. Don't give up. Hang in there. This world needs you. Look at me. And they need you at your best. So I want to challenge you to be your best. Don't be very good. Don't be very good. I want to challenge you to be great. Let me give you one last one. We have great people do things that other people don't. Great people expect success. Let me give you two more. Number 3, great people believe in themselves. I'm so grateful for a great pilot, because a very good pilot would have killed a lot of people, Sully Sullenberger. But you were a great pilot. Said 3 words: prepare for impact. Great people believe in themselves. Now you look at me. It took some moxie to land a plane on the Hudson River. I said it took a little bit more than a blow-dried smile and a nice new outfit from Ross Dress for Less. Are you hearing me? Yeah. Our society says, Sully, just look like a good pilot. I'm telling you, it took something more than that. I'm telling you, it took a grandfather's courage. I'm telling you, it took a mom saying, you can do it, son. It takes something to land a plane on the Hudson River filled with people. You don't know if the plane is going down to the bottom. You have no idea. You don't do that every day. Am I making my point, y'all? Great people believe in themselves. Believe in yourself. I said believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it. Believe in yourself. That means having a right estimate of yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses. You know why I love American Idol? It shows us how off we are. How many of you watch American Idol? Most people don't have a right estimate of themselves. Sing like this. Somewhere over the rainbow, God is good. What do you mean I can't sing? I think that great people believe in themselves, and I think part of believing in yourself is to say, you know what? I have strengths that I'm going to keep growing, and I have some weaknesses that I'm going to improve. Anybody golf fans in here? Anybody watch the Masters degree this past weekend? Masters degree. The Masters this past weekend? Anybody note that Phil Mickelson struggled earlier with driving the ball a long way? Kind of some things you need to do when you're wanting to win a championship. And he attacked those things. Now, it would have been very easy for him to say, my mother's got breast cancer. My wife's got breast cancer. I really don't want to be here. I really don't want to work on anything. I'm going to use the excuses of my personal life to rest on my laurels. By the way, I've already run the jacket 2 times, so I'm just going to be pretty good. What does he say? I'm going to be great. I'm going to take another step of greatness. I'm going to go another step. I'm going to take another step of greatness. I'm going to practice my weaknesses. I'm going to grow my strengths. I'm going to believe in myself. 2010 Masters champion, Phil Mickelson. Any different than you or I? Not really. Not really. Not really. Great people, they just believe in themselves. They visualize success, even in apparent defeat. Man, I like that. It was President Woodrow Wilson who said, all men are big dreamers. I'm sorry, all big men are big dreamers. I don't think that means big in terms of physical, but it means men and women who aspire to greatness, big dreamers. I like the guy who saw 200 acres of oranges in Southern California. I'm from Northern California, and everybody said he couldn't. but Walt Disney did it. Then he comes to this part of the country, and they don't even want to give him the swampland. Y'all know the story? And he turns the swampland into Disney World. When Disney World opened in 1971, and Disney died, I think, in 65 or 66, somebody came up to Walt Disney's widow and said, I wish Walt could have seen this. And her response was, he already has. You know what I love to tell NFL teams? You win and lose. You win or lose before you get to the stadium. Don't look at the scoreboard to determine whether you win or lose. You win or lose before you even get to the stadium. You win or lose before you even get to work. I want y'all to just think about that for a second. Just think about that. Because I really believe that great people who believe in themselves, they visualize success. And finally, my favorite, number 4, great people never quit. They just don't quit. Their focus is always greater than self. They focus on the process, not outcomes. They have great faith. They have great attitude. I want to close with this story. You know who taught me the essence of greatness? My original teacher was a 3rd grade dropout, taught me all those lessons. For those of you who weren't here last year, greatest lesson that 3rd grade dropout taught me was to keep standing in the middle of hell and high water. Doesn't get much worse than walking up to the casket of your wife who dies of breast cancer. But my father taught me never quit. Never. Never quit, son. Never quit. I don't know if there's a greater legacy you can pass on to your children or grandchildren than just not quitting. Norm, I don't know if there's anything more profound I can share with your people than don't give up. Don't quit. Keep working. But let me give you a more recent example of greatness to close this story and our time together. But before I do, one last time. Tech Floyd. Try. If I give this to you, can't do that. I want to so bad. I really do. Well, we made a deal, didn't we? Okay. I don't want to take this $25 back with me. Is there somebody who would like to stand up and recite Aristotle's definition of excellence for $25? Stand up.
You are what you do repeatedly. Thus, excellence is a habit, not an act.
Give it up for y'all. Maybe you can take her to get an ice cream cone. Here's a more current example that has come into my life in the last couple years. I think about the fact that great people do things that other people don't. They expect to succeed, they believe in themselves, and they never quit. When Trina died, my wife, she left me with 2 little boys to raise, and great kids. And then when I remarried a couple of years later, my wife adopted those little boys, and we had more children. So I now have 4 boys, if you count me, 5. Some of you mothers know what I'm talking about. Our number 2 son, Andrew, how do I say this in a respectful way? Ever since his mother died, he's just been running. Does that make sense? He was only 8 years old. Some of you may have an experience like that. Anybody here lose a parent as a child? My heart just goes out to you. My heart goes out to you. It's hard enough when you're our age. Can you imagine as a child? Well, Andrew has been running ever since his mother died. So he's in college now doing everything he wants to do, if you know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, just ask somebody at the break. Mom and I are on our knees praying. How many of you have ever had to pray this prayer in front of for a kid? Whatever it takes, God. It's the scariest prayer in the world. Whatever it takes. Well, get a phone call a couple years ago. Daddy, I've made a girl pregnant. What do you do when you get that call? When you're a minister going around trying to help everybody else, you can't even help your own family. It was his girlfriend. Every odd against him. He's a sophomore. She's a freshman. They have no money. The future doesn't look bright. She happens to be white. He happens to be black. What do? There's so much anger I had. So much, I want to quit the ministry. I remember God woke me up in the middle of the night and said, this ain't about you, this is about him. Now, this is what you do. You go put your arm around that boy and say, you made a mistake, but you're still mine. Do you know that started him thinking, started him getting on his knees? A couple of months later, he and his girlfriend, Lauren, she's starting to show now. They said, Daddy, we don't want to put our baby up for adoption. We feel that we're the ones for each other. We don't know how, but we know that we're going to make it. I've asked Lauren to marry me. I'd like you to perform our wedding. And we don't really have all the answers to everything, but we know, Daddy, that we're going to make it. A couple years later, actually about a year and a half later, I'm standing up there at the head of the church, about to marry them. All the groomsmen, bridesmaids, little 9-month-old Jaden Jeremiah Rigsby in his tuxedo with that blonde curly hair, them blue eyes and that olive skin. It's from my loins. Today, a couple years later, 2 college graduates, Lauren working on her master's degree, Andrew studying to be a pilot for American Airlines, talking about a second baby. I want to publicly say that from a 24-year-old son, I learned the essence of greatness. From a 24-year-old son, I learned that great people do things that other people don't. Great people expect to succeed. Great people believe in themselves. And that great people never quit. Thank you, son, for teaching your daddy. It's been a real thrill to be with y'all. I didn't mean to get emotional, but it's just been a real thrill to be with y'all. There's something very special about this group. And if y'all will keep having me, I'll keep coming back and I'll try to get it right one year. Thanks a lot.